I wanted to tell you about how I became a cartoonist and an author. I think it's kind of an interesting story. I think maybe some of you kids, maybe some of you grown-ups will get inspired to chase after your own dreams after you hear my story. My story started off not wanting to become a children's author at all. I wanted to be a newspaper cartoonist. Now, here is a spread. I think this is of the Washington Post. It might not be, but the point is, this is what I woke up to every morning growing up in Fort Washington, Maryland. When I went downstairs, my father would have already opened up the comics page, and he would have spread it out for me, and this is how I started every single morning. How many kids here actually still read comics in the morning? A lot. How many adults did when they were kids? More. Okay. So newspapers have suffered, unfortunately, with all this digital stuff that we have now. But this is what I looked at in the morning. And I can see right now the comics that my eyes would have gotten drawn to. It's the comics with lots of white space, like Garfield, Here's Pearls Before Swine, Dilbert here. The cartoons that are really sort of simplistic. The ones that wouldn't have drawn my eye to them are the ones that are a little bit more detailed, where there's a little bit more going on, that are very, very dense or very realistic. So I like I like those simple line drawings. That's what I was really attracted to. My favorite day of the week was Sunday, right? Are you cheering for Sunday or for Garfield? Right, okay. Sunday when the color comics came out. Again, you can see here there's tons of what I call white space, even though it's colored, is that there's lots of space and the lines are really simple. I loved Garfield as a kid. I love Calvin and Hobbes. Yes? Some kids know Calvin and Hobbes, yes? Right? You know Garfield, some Calvin and Hobbes. How many grown-ups remember Calvin and Hobbes? I think the last Calvin and Hobbes came out, it might have been like 27 years ago. So that'll make you feel old. Calvin and Hobbes was great because it was not only great, comics, it was great art, right? I love Calvin and Hobbes. And then eventually a new comic came out when I was a teenager, Big Nate. And I'll bet a lot of you kids know Big Nate, right? Yes. I was actually emailing with Lincoln today. What I really liked about Big Nate when it came out was that it was a kid who acted like a kid. A lot of times in cartoons, Calvin and Hobbes is one example, the kids act like kids, but they also act like kind of miniature adults. But these characters in Big Nate, they followed all my rules. They had simple line drawings, and then also the kids actually acted like kids. So I was really attracted to this comic. Now here's a comic that wasn't drawn very well, but was a great comic, The Far Side, right? Now this is one that I find that kids don't really know, generally speaking, but adults do. But are there any kids here who have like a Far Side treasury in your house? Right? Okay, you have really good parents, right? Not that the rest of you aren't good parents, but we do sell Far Side treasuries downstairs. What I liked about The Far Side was that this was not an artist. So Gary Larson was not like a fine artist. He couldn't draw as well as somebody like Bill Watterson, who did Calvin and Hobbes, but because his drawings weren't that great, in a way they were more effective. So that gave hope to me much later on. When I went to college, I first went to Villanova University and then ended up at the University of Maryland, and I created my own cartoon character and his name was Igdoof. Okay, so here's Igdoof, this strange looking character. He's got big eyes and a big nose, big lips, and he's got something else which is unusual, which is just a little bit of hair. So 3 strands of hair, just like Greg Heffley. In fact, when I created Greg Heffley, that was the only part of Igdoof that really survived. When I was drawing Igdoof, I thought, the first day I laid down a drawing, I thought, I have to make sure you know right away who Igdoof is. The comics call it Igdoof. I want you to know who Igdoof is. So that's why I made him look so unusual. That's why I made him partially bald. And when I started to study the history of cartoons and comics, I found out that there are an awful lot of cartoon characters who are boys, who are bald or nearly bald, right? Can anyone tell me who the most famous nearly bald cartoon character is? Yes? Well, thank you. He says Greg Heffley. You say? Charlie Brown. That's what I would say. Now, you haven't seen me talk before, have you? Oh, okay. Yes, Charlie Brown. The very first cartoon character, the very first cartoon character ever was called the Yellow Kid. And he's this really strange looking guy. You wouldn't want to find this guy under your bed at night, right? He's this strange looking kid. And I think this was 1893 that the Yellow Kid came out. In fact, parents, if you've ever heard yellow journalism, that comes from the Yellow Kid. I think that the Yellow Kid probably inspired Charlie Brown. And Charles Schulz, who did Charlie Brown and Peanuts, I think he inspired every cartoonist that came after him, including myself. So, when I graduated in 1992 with my criminal justice degree, I went out into the world and tried to become a newspaper cartoonist. And here's Charlie Brown. And what I did was I started, I put together these submission packets. I moved up to Massachusetts in 1995. My first job was at the Newburyport Daily News as a newspaper person, a graphics editor. And I started working on these submission packets. So this is like a collection of my very best Igdoof cartoons. This is the first page where I was trying to introduce newspaper syndicates to Igdoof. And I thought I was going to get right out there and get a job as a cartoonist right away. But that did not happen. What happened instead was I got lots of these. And this is a rejection letter. I can hear some chuckling already. This is what a rejection letter looks like, and it's just as bad as it looks. It starts off and says, "Dear creator," and it basically goes on to say that they're not interested in my work. In rejection, I can take it, but the bad part about these rejection letters was that there was nothing encouraging about them, right? There was nothing that, they didn't even mention my name or the name of my cartoon, so I never got any positive feedback. All I knew was that they didn't like what I gave them. And so I'd go back to the drawing board, try to guess at what I did wrong, and spend another 9 months and put out another submission packet and get another round of rejection letters. So that went on for 3 years. And finally, I came to terms with what the problem was. I said, you know what? The problem is I'm just not a good enough illustrator. I thought I was a pretty good joke writer. I could pull that part off, but I couldn't draw like those other cartoonists on the newspaper page. So I said, what can I do about this? I'm burning to be a cartoonist, but I don't have the skills to do it. And I did try to get better, and I couldn't. So one day, I think it was one day in 1998, in January or February of 1998, I said, you know what? I think what I should do is embrace the fact that I'm not a very good illustrator. Since I draw like a kid, I should just pretend that I am a kid as a cartoonist. So that's when I got the idea for Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I said, if I start to act like I'm this character, Greg Heffley, nobody will criticize my drawings, because if I draw like a middle schooler, which is where I topped out in terms of my artistic talent, then people will accept that I'm this character. So now I had my idea. 1998, Diary of a Wimpy Kid is what it's going to be called, and I got to work. The way that I got to work is I started writing down ideas. So here's one page of a sketchbook. I had a sketchbook that was 77 pages long, right? It's sort of my lucky number. And I started just writing down every funny thing that happened to me as a kid. So you can, in all of these frames, which you can see are very disorganized, I put a single memory, something funny that happened to me as a kid, because I figured I owned the memories of my own childhood. So I put them into this book. And I'll show you how an idea starts off in real life and becomes something in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So I'll zoom in on this drawing. Is there anyone in the audience, any kids who are kind of like Wimpy Kid experts?
GT.
Yeah, you think you are? You have a shirt and everything, and you? Okay. Do you know what book this is from? Oh, you know in the back. So I asked you first. Do you know for sure? No guess? Yes? Okay, how about you? You put your hand up first. That might be in the movie Diary, but it's from one of the books in the series also, yes? It would be Roger Cruels. Let's give a round of applause to this guy. You had a 1 in 12 chance. Now, to prove that you didn't just guess, do you know what scene this is from the book? That's right, this is Roderick's party. So Roderick and all his teenage friends have a party, right? Which, by the way, kids, is a really bad idea. You'll think you can get away with it, and no kid has ever gotten away with it, okay? So you have, okay. So this is a picture of Roderick's party as it appeared in the book. The kids accidentally take a picture of themselves, and they record the party, and then they get busted later on. Well, here's where that idea came from. When I was a high schooler, I had a girlfriend, right? And before I made the mistake of saying, my high school girlfriend, and it's like, oh no, that's not, I don't have a high school girlfriend now. I had a high school girlfriend in high school, right? So I had a girlfriend in high school when I was also in high school, and her mother one day reached for a camera on a shelf and accidentally took a picture of herself. And I think it's probably the world's first selfie, and here it is. Okay? You can really see it on these side monitors, right? Okay, that was the picture that she snapped. So you can see that it's the same expression that I have on Bill's face, right? So most of the ideas from Diary of a Wimpy Kid came from something like that. Something that happened in real life, and then it went into the fiction blender, and then it comes out as fiction in the books. So I kept writing in a sketchbook, and what I didn't realize is that I was writing smaller and smaller. I thought I'd be done with I'd fill up all my sketchbook pages in 1 month, right? But I started writing smaller and smaller, and in fact, my very last page looked like this. And that one page took me 4 months to fill out. The whole sketchbook took me 4 years to fill out. Then, once I was done filling out my whole sketchbook, I took another 4 years to write the first draft of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So 8 years from the time I thought of it until the time I was ready to show it to anyone. So I lived and live in Plainville, and I went down to New York Comic Con. I took a train down to New York, went to New York Comic Con, the very first one in New York City. It was oversold, so I couldn't get in the doors, and so I had to go home. But then on my way out of New York, I realized that Billy Joel was playing at Madison Square Garden, and it said it was sold out. But I said to my wife, I said, if I can get a ticket, do you mind if I stay the night? And that was kind of a big question for us at the time because we had no money, and a hotel room in New York City is not expensive. But she said, sure, go for it. And I got the very last ticket that they had at the box office, went to Billy Joel. The next day I go back to Comic-Con. This time I am able to get in. And I walked around, I found an editor. I said, take a look at this thing that I've been working on for a long time. And he took a look at just the first page. He didn't read any words. And he said, this is exactly what we're looking for. So after all those years, 3 years of trying to become a newspaper cartoonist, plus 8 more years, I finally had that breakthrough. And I was lucky that I was prepared for the moment. I'm glad it didn't happen a lot earlier. So one year later, this is Comic-Con, and 1 year later, the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid book came out. I remember I lived right up this hill over here, and I got it in the mail, and it was like the coolest thing that ever happened to me. It was the best day of my life for sure. And I feel bad saying that because I have 2 kids, and yes, they were both born. It was disgusting. This was better. It was clean, right? Didn't need to be changed. So I got this book, and I really wanted to, take a pause on this moment because to try to really motivate kids who, if there's anybody that wants to become a published author or publish anything, that's a great thing, to be able to create something and then to have somebody else say, that's good enough to put into print. Times are really different these days because you can kind of have a thought and put it out there to an audience, and that's cool too. But I think something that really is good and worthwhile takes more time to put together. For me, it took a long time. All right, let's see what else I've got here. This is where I said I'm rusty. Okay, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to draw. I'm going to stop talking for a while. Yeah, you're looking at this and you're saying, why does it say Jario June Banana? I will get to that in a few minutes. Right now I am going to draw. So I learned a lot about cartooning in drawing as Greg Heffley. I learned that cartooning really is the art of simplicity, because drawing like a kid, I was trying to use as few lines as possible. So I'm going to show you how I draw Greg. Let's give this a try. Okay, glasses on. So I do all my drawings digitally. I've mentioned a few times here that I'm not the best artist, and you're about to see that firsthand. But what's great is when I was drawing with pencil and paper, pen and ink, I wasn't very good, but with the computer tab, I can zoom way in, or I can make a mistake and then undo it. So here is how I draw Greg, and I almost always use the tablet. And that, for me, is actually a really good drawing. You can see, if you ever draw Greg's head, you'll find out that that's where it goes wrong, right? You'll get the eyes right, the nose, and then you'll start to draw this, and it's like this, right? Or, or like this, or something like that. It's hard to draw that circle, so I got lucky on my first try here. So Greg's head, I think, is shaped of only about 9 lines. Usually he's frowning. Today we'll make him smiling. Okay, and then Greg sort of curves inwards. You saw that book, Diário de Banana? That is the Brazilian version. And Greg is called the Banana Boy over there. Okay, and it's because he kind of curves, and you'll see it when I draw the lower half of Greg. So Greg has 4 fingers, like most cartoon characters, because, again, cartooning is the art of simplicity, and 4 fingers is kind of enough. It's like he's got a thumb and then a few other fingers. That's sort of enough to get the point across. So here's Greg's top half, and you can see that if you're ever drawing Greg, remember he is a double banana, right? There's the top half. When I go to other countries, they're like, that's a sausage, or there's something else. It's never a good enough banana. You guys are just polite. Okay, so here's Greg's bottom half. Ready? Okay. And let me ask Cassie for something. Cassie, you're here? Could you go upstairs and get my backpack, my small backpack, which is in the studio? Thank you. Don't worry, I'm not leaving. I need something from the backpack. Okay. Here are Greg's shoes, and I always draw like grass or something like that. I said he's a double banana because on top, he's shaped like one, and then on the bottom, he's shaped like sort of the reverse banana. Okay, so there is Greg Heffley. You're supposed to clap now to make me feel good. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. And now Greg is going away. Okay. Oh, we're getting some resistance. Hold on. I gotta. This is what's great about a computer. If you make a mistake, you can repair it. So Greg is not going to go away. What I'll do is this. Oh no, I'm messing up all over the place. Hold on. Now I've got double Gregs. This is going wrong. Okay, hold on. Something happened here. Okay, let's try this again. No, this is gonna work. Okay. Yes, here we go. Okay. Greg is he's not going away, he's dead. Okay. There we go. I hope you're happy now. Thank you. Okay. Actually, let's go. I don't have to draw his head. Well, yeah, I'll do it. Okay, here we go. He's dead, yes. Okay, so Greg is going to go away, vanish. He's invisible. You can imagine he's still there. Now, let's try this. Okay, again with the head. Here we go. We've got 2 eyes, right? You're going to get used to this, right? He's got a nose, a head, and I'm doing this. This is hard for me. Okay, you got a little bumpy there in the head, but we're gonna stick with this. Okay, almost every drawing of Greg starts off this way, right? And now I won't cheat. Yes. And how about I cheat again? Okay, great. Now I don't have to work too hard. Okay, cartooning, the art of simplicity. So Greg is about as simple a cartoon character as you can get. I'm going to show you that if I just change a few things, his expression, the way you feel about him, will change a lot. So here's the simplest way to go, right? In the first drawing, he is what? Sad. And in the second one, he is happy, right? But now, if I do this, Greg is what? Tired. Tired, sleepy, just one little line, right? How about if I draw this? Sick, you say sick? I'm going to say that he's concentrating but tired. It's kind of complex, right? And if I draw that same line here, right? Hungry, yeah, that's what I'd say, but it's the same tongue, right? But you knew right away that he felt something different. Okay, so here I'm going to do an open mouth. You say scream. Let's see if I can do this. I've never tried to cheat to this level. Let's see, are my fingers small enough? No! My fingers are too fat to cheat. Okay, so I'm going to draw that mouth again here, right? So I'm not sure we know how Greg feels right now, so I'm going to try to add a few lines here, right? And maybe these 3 lines. Now what's Greg doing? I hear screaming. I would say he's talking. In my world, that's talking. If he was yelling, I'd say he's going to look like that, right?
Yeah.
And then here, Greg is, do you know yet?
Scared.
Scared. That's right. Now, if I really wanted to tell you that Greg is scared, right? I'd go big with the eyes, right? I'd widen his pupils even further. I might, if I really wanted you to think he was scared, I might add these lines, right? So now Greg is really, really scared, right? So now, I keep saying that Greg is really a simple cartoon character, but he's not as simple as he could be. If I still wanted you to know how Greg felt, what could I erase and you would still know how he feels? Yes? I could erase the big circles. How about in this one up here? What about this one? If I want you to know, or how about this one? If I want you to know that Greg is hungry, what could I erase? What's not necessary? Yes, right in the middle.
I forgot.
Okay, how about over there?
His mouth is smiling, so if you erase that and make his mouth look different, then it could look like
True, true. But I'm trying to make sure you know how he feels. So I don't think you need the hair, right? You don't need Greg's hair. We still know that he's hungry, right? What else could we erase? Yes?
His ear.
His ear, that's right, okay. And I think there's one more thing that we could erase and we'd still know that Greg is hungry. Yes? His nose, yeah. I'd say that. Okay, so let's erase his nose. So here's Greg about as stripped down as we can get, right? And this drives everybody crazy that I never complete that line, so I'll complete that. Okay, what does this remind you of? Does it remind you of anything? A hungry emoji, that's right. Because with emojis, if you think about it, an emoji is as stripped down a human being as you can possibly get, right? They don't have, they don't have ears, they don't have noses, they don't have hair. They don't even really have skin color, it's kind of yellow, right? So we don't need to know their skin color, right? So here is Greg in as stripped down form as you can get. And I can turn Greg into another character with 2 lines, all right? How many people are Harry Potter fans? All right, lots? Okay, 2 diagonal lines and this character becomes who?
Harry.
I think I heard it.
Harry Potter.
Not Harry.
Voldemort.
Voldemort, right, I'm gonna say, okay, there we go. That's Voldemort. Okay. That's Voldemort. I know I'm not supposed to say his name, but let's try something else here. All right, take Greg. We won't erase all his ears, his nose, everything else, right? Let's just start with Greg, bald, right? Few lines, and I can transform him into a...
Roderick.
That's right, Roderick, right? So you can see that Greg really is Roderick, right? And I've given you some hints, some symbols that told you that Greg was Roderick's brother. Their nose is the same. Their hair's not the same. Their nose is the same. Their mouth is the same. Head, eyes, ear, all those are the same, right? But Greg has another brother, doesn't he? Manny. Okay. Let's see. All right. Here goes these characters. Yeah, I know it stings. They weren't that good anyway. Okay. I start off with the eyes, right? And then things get a little crazy with Manny, right? His nose is long like that. His mouth is long. So far, he does not look like Greg's brother at all, does he? Okay. He's got 2 giant teeth. It's almost like an alligator, right? And then finally, we see why he is brothers with Greg, right? They have the same hair. So right in between Roderick and Manny is Greg. Now, who in here likes to draw? A lot of kids, okay. I see a kid with a neon green something on. Yes, wave your hand around and you can come up here. Yes, that is you. All right, this is your big moment. Can you tell me your name or tell the crowd?
Daniel.
Okay, let's give a round of applause to Daniel. Come on up here, Daniel. Okay, Daniel, you saw me drawing Manny, right? Now you're going to draw him here, and you're going to start with his eyes, right? And now this is harder than it looks. Oh, one second, I got to switch to the pen. This is harder than it looks. So start right up there with a dot. It's harder than it looks because it's hard to draw on a tablet. So, okay, 2 eyes. You're doing well so far, okay? Now that long nose, look above you, right? It goes way out there, right? Oh, he's going with the double, right? Okay. And don't forget his teeth and all of that. Oh, okay, he's got a long mouth, right? There's a tooth. This is a vampire Manny. You wouldn't want to get bit by this guy, right? Okay. All right. I am going to have nightmares. Thank you very much, Daniel, for this drawing. He's going up. Here comes the ear. I told you it was hard. Very good. And then don't forget his head, right? All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, let's give it up for Daniel. Good job. All right, and Daniel, how old are you?
7.
7. That was excellent. Now, Daniel, I'm 46, right? And I'm going to show you, but I'm not very mature, right? So I'm going to try to do better than you did, all right? So we have my drawing, your drawing. We know what Manny's supposed to look like, and we know you're drawing the Manny, which is a very interesting interpretation. And I'm going to try to draw Manny again, but with a catch. I'm going to do it blindfolded, okay? So how many think I can do better than Daniel with my eyes closed? And how many think Daniel will do better than me? Okay. All the kind grown-ups, raise your hands. Okay. Okay, here we go. I've tried this before, and I've had varying degrees of success. Here we go. All right. Okay. So far, am I on the right track? Okay, good. Okay, good. All right, now very careful. I draw his nose, right? Yes. Okay, kind of. And then I draw his mouth. Right? And then a tooth. And a tooth. Okay, the neck. And for the grand finale, the head, right? Right here. And then 2, 3. All right. I want to say that's not bad, right? for being blindfolded. That's not that bad. Okay, so I need another kid. How about this time a girl? A girl. Pink shirt. Yes. She's in the light. She's on a couch. Yes. Okay, so here's your goal. Now you've seen, and what's your name?
Mia.
It's right. You should say, look at my name tag, dummy. Right? Okay. Why? We do the name tags. Okay. Here we go. There goes Manny. There's Daniel's Manny. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. One more time. Last time of the night, I'm going to draw Greg, but you have to pay attention. Can you do that? Okay, what town do you live in?
Situate.
Situate. Okay, wow, you came from a little ways away. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, are you paying attention? Okay, 2 eyes, right? We've seen this a million times, right? Yeah, this is how I make my money, guys. I draw the same drawing over and over again. Okay, and then the hard part, you know this is hard. Okay, that's hard. Okay, even with your eyes open, that's hard. Okay, and then we have the 3 hairs, and then an ear, and then we'll make him smiling. Got it? Okay, so now it's going to be your turn. But wait, I thought this was going to be easy. Alright, I will be here to coach you through it, okay? I'm going to start. Okay, I'm going to help you draw the first dot right about there, okay? Okay, here we go. Let's see how this goes, Mia. Okay, eyeball. So far, so good. He's a very wee Greg, but... And she's got the head shape, okay? Bad. Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, she goes with the mouth next. And what about that nose? Were you waiting on that, or did you forget? She forgot. Okay. Here comes the nose. Okay, yeah. And what about the ear? Don't forget the ear. Oh, the hair. She's going for the hair. Oh, the ear. Right. And one more hair. Excellent. I'm amazed. Actually, Mia, you forgot one important thing. I'm going to show you. Okay. I forgot to tell you this before, is that every cartoonist has to sign their drawing, okay? So you're going to sign your drawing. You can sign Mia, right? But you have to put the blindfold back on, so it's fair. Okay, so I'm going to just, actually I'll give you that pen in 1 second. Okay, here we go. So you just have to sign right there. Yeah, Mia, right? Okay. Oh, it's not drawing. Hold on, don't look yet. Okay, try that again. Let's see if I can get... Oh no, everything's going wrong. Wait. Okay, this is gonna work. I promise this is going to work. Okay, now you can sign, right? Oh, a little higher. Yeah, okay, good. Now try. Yes, excellent. Excellent, thank you very much. Okay, excellent. Did you agree? Extra short? Okay, thank you very much, Mia. All right. You guys did a great job, and you can take a joke, right? So that's all good.